Hello guys, how are you? It's underscore Gintu. You can just check onto my YouTube channel and you can just find me at it's underscore Gintu. Guys, I am here with some fish feeds here. People are just asking which kind of feeds are we just using in terms of fish rearing. You can just come here and they can just read how these feeds are. We have the linearia fish feeds here. They're just 4 inches finishers. You can just see they are just 4 millimeters in terms of we talk about the diameter. As we can just see, the minerals that are just found here, we have the crude protein, which are the ingredients of maize product, wheat products. We have the meat and bone meals, fish meals and soybeans meal, sunflower meal, amino acid, vitamins and minerals. So this is the kind of feed we are just using in fish farming with the reality size. So these fish meals here, we are just going to stock them and store them in a cool, dry place so as it cannot just get wet because it can now have that lifespan. So it is to be used until March next year, 2024, so as it could have been exhausted. So this was the product I was just purchased yesterday from Mombasa, which was just the Linalia fish feeds. So this is a company that produces a much good feed in terms of the fish production. So guys, they have so much tension in terms of catfish meals, and also they have for the tilapia fish. So this is just for tilapia. You can just see the marks here. This is for the tilapia fish, which is just for the finishers. So we never got for the growers because the order was so much. So, but these ones can work onto these fish we have here. So we are just going to test them. So as we know, if it's just larger for them, we are just going to mill it so as it can now be given into a minimal size so as they can just consume. But for now, we are just going to use these feeds for feeding our fish here. So the protocol is just we remove this is just one of the strings. Is it a must that we remove them that way? Or you cannot remove it in anyhow because this just the bags you have. Maybe sometimes it will show something, so sometimes we do use these bags. You can just fill it with some sand or some soil so as you can now restrict as a barrier, or it can just act as a guardian somewhere. So you don't have to just open it anyhow, or you can just cut it from any angle. So you have to open it this way so as now you can just get your quantity product inside here. So these are the products.
So you can see them. Pellets.
They're just pellets.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How much portion are you going to give this fish
we
per day?
We have 300 pieces of fish there. So 300 each of them has like 30 grams. So the 30 grams you just each 30 grams they eat around 3 grams per day. So if it's just 3 grams per day, you calculate now 300 times 3, which is just 900 grams, which is whereby approaching 1 kg per day. So I am just going to use a kg per day, which is like twice a day, which is around 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. during the evening session. So I'm just going to divide it into 2, which is a half a kg per each for each feed per day or per any for that time.
How much is a sack of 25 kgs of this feed?
1 kg is 160 shillings, so you can just calculate times 25, it's around 4,000.
Shillings.
Yeah. So the 2 are just 8,000.
Yeah. Are you able to mix with the other feeds or other food, or you just have to specify on this one?
It's just this one. So I talked about having the concentrate feeds and having the man-made feeds. So the man-made feeds are these ones. You can just see them. This is just the maize husks and some maize chaff We have we can talk about we have some other things, but mostly it's just the maize chaffs. These are just the man-made feeds. But when we talk about the concentrate feeds, are these ones here now. So you can see the difference here. So these ones are for commercial purposes only, but these ones, they have one of the biggest problem in terms of feeding them. So if you use these stuffs here, you can see they have some maize inside. So these stuffs here sink onto the ground floor of the fish pond, whereby they're just going to rot at the ground floor, whereby producing toxic substances or toxic chemicals at the ground, whereby they bring out something by the name hydrogen sulfide, which now dilutes water, and at that time it will now go to suffocate some fish, and they might be killed onto that toxic substance created from rotting of this man-made stuff. So, but these ones are just floating on top of water, so it's now a good idea about them. So they're just going to float on water. So because the tilapia fish are top feeders, they are not bottom feeders. But these ones are good in terms of rearing catfish. Catfish, they are just bottom feeders. They eat something that's just below water surface or at the floating surface of water. So this one is good for catfish rearing. But in terms of tilapia rearing, it's not good for them. But these ones, they act both. You can just be fed by what we call the tilapia fish and the catfish at the same time, because catfish act twice, because they can just eat the floating feeds and the sinking feeds. Yeah.
Another question, maybe if I may ask, does fish drink water? Someone asked me that question.
Okay, it's the same way you can just ask us, do you breathe air? Okay. It's, you know, it's like a human. They need water so as they can now dilute, or it can just help in the system of the food. You know, that process of digestion of food. So always water is just used, but in a minimal way. But water help it now obtain oxygen from water. So it has to stay in water so as it can get that oxygen from water. So in terms of water consumption, it does, but in a minimal way. Yeah.
So for how long have you been doing fish farming?
I've been in fish farming for more than 5 years now. So I have ever been using this kind of stuff here in terms of fish rearing here. So there are different types of these feeds here. We have the starter mashes, which are just the starter crumbles. And we have the growers, which are just 2 millimeters in size. We have now the pellets, which are just 3 millimeters, and we have the finishers, which are just 4 millimeters. So 4 millimeters means that they are just somehow big. You can see they're somehow big. But if you compare them to these, this is just the grower mash. It looks like a mash. So it's just like we can just talk about 2 millimeters of this. So these are just 4. So it will now depend on the size of the fish you're just going to feed. So in case the feeds are not going to feed to our fish, whereby maybe they're just somehow big unto them, so we are going to just mill them first, so as they can have such kind of particles, so as we can now feed them. So but to purchase the second, which is just the second grower mash, it's just 3 millimeters of it. So it's so expensive to purchase because it's just 200 per kg. But you can just use this one and you can just mill it so as it can now cut at cost. Yeah.
And is there any major challenges with fish farming? Any major challenges?
Major challenges in terms of, so here we are just talking about the fish farming, so the challenges we might have at the shop.
Yeah.
Or at where now the practice is just upgoing. Yeah? Yeah. So the challenges are they are there because you know, that's why I've talked about using the man-made feeds and the concentrate feeds. We have talked about the hydrogen sulfide. So that's a challenge. So sometimes you might find some fish ponds have high silt in water, so it might hinder the generation or the production of the fish production. So those are just the challenges. Even the pH of water. So sometimes if the pH is acidic, it cannot, the production cannot go on. You'll have stunted growth or some dying or some collapsing. So we should have a pH of around 8 to around 11 pH in terms of water, which is the alkalinity. So that's the best pH value you can just get into water, and fish can just survive.
So what are the ways that you use to control the pH, to maintain the level of pH?
Okay. If you want to control the pH, we use the limes sometimes. Yeah, the lime mostly. So it degrades from this acidic and to alkalinity direct. Those limes. So it will now differ the acidic value and to your water. So if you use which kind of value or which kind of lime we are just going to use, so it will now differ from that. So even if we are just using, the lime is of two. We have calcium oxide and calcium hydrogen oxide, so they are there. So in terms of that, those are always lime. So you can just use them when you harvest or clear the fish pond via harvesting. So you can just use, in terms of calcium oxide, to kill any other organism that's just living underwater, whereby when we talk about the commercial business here, we are not talking about the family or any kind of business like just using these breeding tilapias. So if you talk about the monosex tilapia, which are just male, so when we stock them at our chambers there, so you harvest everything from that pond when it's just harvest time. So when you just withdraw the whole of water outside from the pond, so as you can now clear the ponds for next investment, you can just find the smaller fries, or you can just find some smaller fingerlings remaining at that fish pond. So the good aim of just killing them, sometimes if you have ever seen a pond cleared, so you can just find some pedals inside or some barrels, more so just pedals. Those are just the water spots remaining inside water. Somehow you can just think that maybe somebody went and maybe he dug some place, so as water has just accumulated there, so it cannot go out all. Or sometimes you can just find that where you have just released water from the pond is just an upper way, whereby some water remains at the pond. So in that case, you can just use calcium oxide. Those are just the liming ones, so as to kill all the creatures that have just remained there, like frogs, toads, like the fingerlings. So because when you invest and harvest, you harvest everything. And you clear the pond and you reinvest water again, then you fertilize it. Yeah.
In one of videos I saw you at the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody is looking at you for the first time,
Yeah.
and doesn't know what you are. I think you went to look for something. Was it cow dung or what?
Okay.
And what is the importance of it in the fish
guys,
pond?
what you just mean that when you can just go onto my channel, it's _Gintu, you just find what you're just talking about.
Yes.
I went to the slaughterhouse to take some chyme. Do you know chyme? When a cow grazes, so it just grinds or cut the grass, then grind it and swallow. So that grass that's just swallowed, it goes to the stomach. So when it reaches the stomach, it's now called the chyme. Before when it's just now being to be now at the stomach. Now we are just talking about that. So when you go to the slaughterhouse, when they slaughter some cows there, so you can just find those grinded grass they just ate or swallowed just at the stomach still. So they have to remove it, so as we can now get those stuffs from the cow. So those are just called the chyme, and we have the cow dung. So you can just apply both too, because I usually go for the chyme because it has more advantages than the cow dung, but they have same nutritive value onto the fish ponds. One of it is that when you use the chyme, it's sometimes when you have the fish pond, you are just advised that the dikes you can just plant their grass. So as sometimes the fish can just eat that grass that penetrates into the water level, or they can just eat the potato beans. They can just eat sukuma wiki, you know about that. So if they can just consume those, it means that that grass that you just plant alongside the dikes, it means that it's the same grass that the cow consumes. So it has been grinded, so it's now fine for to be like feed. So in that case that we are just talking about now, it will, you know, it's somehow greenish in color, you know that. So when you throw it into the water, it's now going to turn water into green. So turning water into green, it's nutritive to the growth of algae onto that fish pond. So if it turns water into green, so it will now improve the upcoming of algae onto that water, because the tilapia fish eat algae entire cycle. And the second value is that it will now turn water into green. That green turbidity will just create a barrier from the predator birds, and the fish cannot be eaten anymore. And the third point is, you know, that chyme, it has a scent. That scent doesn't go hand in hand with some predators like snakes. So you can never find any snake around that pond. You know that. So the fourth point is when you use that chyme, so it's just like an organic manure or organic matter. So it's just going to facilitate the growth of algae. At the same time, it will now have a nutritive value to that water. So you can just have a nursery bed or a seed bed, and you can just use that water to water the seed beds and nursery beds. So it has that nutritive value, and always it's just a feed. So it has 5 positive impacts when you are just using that chyme.
Talk of snakes. Does snake really eat fish?
Yes, not big fish. So you know. Now it will now depend which kind of snake are there and the size of that snake. When we talk about the snake, you know, there are big snakes that even swallow some frogs. Do you know that? So if it can just swallow a frog, what about a fish? It can. So they're just predators. They eat small like the fingerlings and the fries. The point there is that we fertilize the ponds before stocking the fish or stocking the fingerlings. So that if you are just doing the fertilization, now it will now give that barrier that the snakes cannot stay under that water when we are just stocking the fingerlings. Because if the snake is just inside there, it's just going to consume the fingerlings before they just grow up. They are just small. So those chyme help us in that matter. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're heading to feed the fish.
Yeah, I'm just going to test the feeds there.
Yeah.
So as I'm just waiting for Marwa to come and just give him these feeds. Yeah. Or is that just around? Okay. Let me see him, then I'm coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can I be calling you now? My fish pond guy or
Fish farmer.
fish farmer? Yeah. I am _Gintu.
Yeah.
He's trying to educate me about fish feeds. Yeah. But you know, I'm really worried the day I'll not be around, and I give my guy who takes care of my compound money to buy this. If he will really buy, or he will let the fish die.
But you know, they're just expensive, by the way. So 1 kg of this is just 160 shillings.
So for 25
It's
kg,
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there are 2 bags here. They're just for 8K now.
8,000.
Yeah. So these are the best in terms of fish feeding.
You can show them the logo.
Yeah. Just turn it.
Maybe this company should work with me. Instead of me buying, I be their brand
Yeah,
ambassador.
Linalia, by the way. Yeah.
And they can feed my fish. How many fish do we have?
We have 300 fish.
Okay.
And you know, I've just calculated because they are just 30 grams per each fish.
Yeah.
So they're just going to eat 3 grams per day each.
Oh, each.
3 grams per day.
So times 300.
Times 300 is just 900
Grams.
Now 900 grams like,
Like
1
1
kg.
kg.
Yeah, 1 kg divided by 2, because it's just 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. in the evening session. So you can just divide it into a half.
Okay.
So they will just be fed twice a day.
Wow.
So, but you know, they're just somehow 4 millimeters. You can just see.
Yeah.
They're just finishers for 4
Finishers.
millimeters.
Okay.
Because these were just somehow cheap. Because if you go for the starter mashes or grower mashes, they are just 200 per kg.
Wow.
200 per kg
So
now.
fish farming is really expensive.
Of course, yes. Now, that's why we talk about, we have the concentrate and we have the man-made. These are just the man-made. We can
This
just
one,
use,
yeah.
yeah.
This is from local posho mill.
Portion meals. So we have a big challenge when you use these ones here.
Why?
So if we use the man-made with these ones here, we have a stock of tilapia fish that just top feeders. So, you know, the maize sinks in water. So if it sinks, it cannot be consumed via the tilapia fish.
I see.
So they're just going to rot onto the ground floor of the tilapia fish, so as they're just going to remove something by the name, the toxic substances when they rot out. So they're just going to form a toxic substance, forming hydrogen sulfide onto the water level, which by it's just going to suffocate the fish and kill them. So when we use this one as a high quantity, it's just going to bring that harm.
So my question is, so this is what is inside here.
Yeah, this is the
We have
ingredients.
maize product, which
Yeah.
is also we can
Maize
use
products,
this.
yes.
Wheat product, we have meat and bone.
Means, yeah.
Eh.
Fish means we have soya
They
beans.
eat meat. Tricky situations.
These are the ingredients found. We have some minerals there, amino acids and vitamins also. So when we use these ones, you know, I talked about we have the commercial fish ponds and we have the homemade fish ponds.
Like me, I want homemade. Honestly, I don't
Even
intend to go commercial.
even if you're just using the homemade,
Yeah.
you should have maybe the only thing we shall use is just regulating the feeds, not overfeeding them or just give them the minimal amount of the feeds to them. But the point we're just going to now overfeed them, it's now being it will now bring some harm unto them. So we are just going to use them in a small quantity. If it's just 1 kg per day, so 25 kg is just going for a month.
Yeah, actually 25 days.
Yeah, 25 days or a month. Because sometimes it's just rainy because we have the situation that it doesn't fit when you're just feeding them.
Oh,
Too early in the morning or so late in the evening. You
It's not
cannot
okay.
feed them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feed them when now sunlight comes up.
yeah, because they like to jump.
Yeah, they like it that time. So you can just sometimes you can now see the cloud now by now it's just chilly.
Yeah.
So it's not advised you can just throw their feet. So that's just a waste. They are just going to bask underwater. So
So when
not
it rains,
they
it's-
cannot feed.
They cannot feed.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So that's just wasting of feeds. You can just come and you get the feeds hit at one side corner of the fish.
Oh, and still they will not eat.
They will not eat. Because when they're just produced so as they can just be used or consumed within the 30 minutes. After 30 minutes now, they'll get that wetness and they just sink into the water now. Yeah.
Alright guys, we are here with @IAM_Ginty, the guy with the fish pond. So maybe later you guys will go and show them the fish. So my question is, if we feed right, can we see the fish jumping into the food?
Now, you know, when we talk about now in
No, I
terms of that,
mean like if you pour the food in the fish pond, will we
they are-
see the fish?
yeah, they are going to come out.
Oh, let's go see. Everybody's saying we should. Fish farming in Kenya. Guys, I'm rearing this fish for purely luxury, but not only luxury. It's one way of.
And with this fish pond here, they have a place where they're just going to crowd. They're not coming at this, you know, we constructed this fish pond in a manner that we have a shallow depth and a deep depth.
Okay.
So they like going to a deep depth because the shallow depth, they know that sometimes they can just be maybe withdrawn out or they are not secure where they are just maybe people can just view them direct. So they just go to the far end where the depth is somehow. Yeah. So that's where we are now heading, so as we can just give them some minutes because sometimes they fear human beings.
Oh.
Yeah, so they need that security. You can just see how they're just bubbling water.
Oh yeah.
So
So
let me
you say you have
let
like
me try.
300 fishes here.
300, yeah.
Wow.
So you can just
Actually, these white things are their food.
their feet.
Okay. So how do they know like food is ready? Oh, food actually
It
floats.
floats on top of water. So I told you these are just tilapia fish. they just feed
Top
only.
feeders.
They're just top feeders. They eat anything that's just floating on top of water.
Can they eat grass if they don't have food?
Yeah, they consume grass, but those are just the local feeds.
Okay.
In case they're just hungry, they can just take it.
Like
but,
sukuma wiki if things go
yes,
wrong?
yes, they do.
Because I'm imagining a situation where I don't have food and I'm far away and maybe my gate guy has disappeared.
By the way,
Then I
yeah,
have to look for a backup plan.
yeah, they eat grass, they eat potato beans.
Oh.
They eat even sukuma wiki. Yeah, even when you can just know that sometimes you can just
Actually,
make
they are
these
eating,
feeds.
look. I
Yeah,
see.
they are just coming. The feeds are so they have that scent.
Oh,
So it's
they
made.
smell.
They are made with that scent that
Attracts.
that it will
like
now
a bait.
attract. They're going to come.
Maybe they see a lot of people and they are
They are afraid of that. So
And just a question,
Yes.
Marwa's channel, people were asking why is the water like this?
okay, people are just asking why is water not so clear.
No, it's because of the ground.
The ground is not tiled. We have the muddy ground.
Yeah.
Even the sideways are just mud. So even water we accumulate here is from the spring sources from mud. So you cannot get clear water here because it has a high volume of water occupation here. So
And also the color on the ground.
the color.
You know what gives the water the way it looks? It's because of the ground.
The ground.
If we change this ground to be red, you'll see this water as red.
Of course, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So people are just asking about that. We are just going to do something very soon. So the boss can just tell you on maybe we are just going to tile this fish pond.
Oh, you want us to tile inside or outside?
It can just now give
Yeah,
that
but we
shape.
said it's gonna
In terms like
cone.
that nani
Yeah.
there. So it
Oh.
might be tiled upwards and
Okay,
maybe
if
keep
you
that
want,
deco.
yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can. I'm only before I thought if we tile, the fish will feel very cold. You know, tiles are very cold.
You know, it's just one, this perimeter wall here. You can just tile it from downwards and to this section and that perimeter wall. But downwards, it's just
Yeah, we
muddy.
can tile it.
Yeah.
It will also look good.
Yeah, it will now have that decor of the house and even the good looking now.
But will it not affect the fish with the cement?
No, because the tiles are just fixed there. And
No, I mean when they are making the work, you know, they have to put.
now tiling it now.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we are just going to minimize or remove some water so as it can now. They can, you know, that's why we constructed a depth at the far end that's just deep. So as when I just open water outside, it will now come this way. This place will now be no water here, but at the far end there is water. So they can just do that work for like 30 minutes or 50 or 1 hour, 3 hours. So if they finish, now I open the water so as it can now enter.
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, have you seen any fish?
They cannot come where people are. And whenever somebody is just throwing this fish, it depends on the movement of wind. You throw towards where wind is now blowing to. So because you cannot throw the fish from there if the wind is just blowing to there. So it will now accumulate at one place because they are just rampant all over this fish pond. So you throw fish from where the wind is blowing from. So you can just throw it from that end so as it can now blow via the wind up to the far end, whereby every fish will now get the feeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for watching. I am Marwa and I am _Gintu. And now I have to pay him for the feeds. Time to pay. Yeah, before you leave today, I'll pay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Guys, we are done now in terms of just showing on how these feeds are just going to be used or how the feeding are just allocated to the fish pond. So I'll keep on giving you more update in terms of fish farming on how it's done onto this area. So guys, maybe you have not talked about this fish pond here. It has 300 fish, which are just brood fish. There are just over 2 species of tilapia, which is we have the red tilapia, which is bright red tilapia, and the bright black tilapia. So they're just breeding here. So we used, even you can just see from the previous videos and to its underscore Gintu, you can see the type of the fish or the installation we did here. They're just tilapia fish and catfish at the same time. The aim of we using the catfish at this place here, it was now to minimize the breeding habit onto this fish pond. Because when we let them to breed, we are just going to get, after a 3-month-old, we are just going to get around 100,000+ fingerlings being just hatched onto this fish pond here. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, guys, my name is Hamilton Adventures on YouTube. How are you going to control those 100,000 here?
That's what I'm just now going to analyze it. So I am just using the catfish here. I just brought the catfish here, whereby, you know, catfish when they have they always have large bodies when it comes to growing. They have a high growth rate capacity. So we stocked here some catfish here. So as when they are just going to breed or bring or hatch into small young ones, or they just going to lay some eggs, because these are just the mouth breeders. So they bring some eggs from the mouth. They are just the mouth breeders. So when they're just going to breed the eggs out, so those catfish are going to eat the eggs and the smaller fingerlings that might be just hatched here. So they're just going to regulate the breeding system onto this fish pond. So we are not going to get so much offsprings, which are just the fries and some fingerlings. So when we talk about fry, somebody is just talking about, is that a cooking method? That's not a cooking method, guys. A fry is a smaller fingerling, which is just from a hatched fish, which is from the first day to like 10 days. That's very small. They look so small. So those are just fries. When we talk about the fingerlings, are from 10 days now to around 2 months. So if they're just from 2 months now to 3 months to 4 months are now called the brood fish. From there now we have the big fish now. So the brood fish are always from 30 grams to around 90 to like 70 grams. So after there we have now teenager fish, which are now coming to be so big. So those are just from 70s to around 200 grams. So we have from 200 grams now a big fish. So, but the lifespan of the tilapia fish goes up to 10 years. So from 10 years now you can just get a tilapia fish of around 5 kg at this. But we cannot reach up to that extent because the water level. So if the water level is of a high depth, so we can just achieve that. But if the water depth is somehow minimal, we are not going to achieve that one of 10 years. Because if you can just, they're just breeding, even if we have the catfish here, we have 300 fish and we have 2 catfish here. So that breeding will just be so much compared to the ratio of the catfish here. So guys, as far as everything is just ongoing here, so I'm just going to update more of you, and you can just go onto my project of fish farming there, where now we have the earthen fish ponds. These are just somehow a fish pond and a cage, because it's just constructed. But you can come onto my project, and or you can just tip onto my channel. You learn more about the earthen fish ponds and the cages. So the earthen fish pond have so many things to do with the fish farming, because they have the relevant rearing of those fish, which are just tilapia fish.
Maybe the last question.
Yes.
How can you advise a farmer who is watching right now on fish farming? Maybe he or she want to start this project of fishing.
The point to take or to drive home is just one. When somebody need to just start up a fish farming project, the only idea is, are you determined and focused on what you want to do? So if you are determined and focused, just go for that goals. So if you had that idea of fish farming, it's the same way of rearing them, because somebody can just construct a fish pond and say, so I have a fish pond, yes, so how am I going to stock some fish? How am I going to know if these are just good commercial fish that I can just stock here? But some can, there's just a challenge. When you start up any project, make sure that you have capital to invest, because you cannot just wake up and say, I want to start up a fish farming. So you should have a capital that goes hand in hand with that rearing you want. Because when you just construct a fish pond like an earthen fish pond, which is just somehow cheaper than these cages or these constructed fish pond, this one is so expensive to a person who is just starting. But if you have a good or some amount of money earning, you can just go and to just constructing this. But if you are just starting and somehow you have a small amount of money to start, you can just go for the earthen fish ponds. Or you can just say a cage or a water tank. You can just purchase a tank or create some tank or construct a small tank using the bricks. Then you can just plaster or using the waterproofs, so as you can just stock their water for small amount of fish if you want that career to grow. And you now learn more about the fish, how they just grown. But for the earthen fish pond, it should be a rectangle in shape. So people are just asking, why is it in a rectangle shape? But you know, that's the easiest method, where by when the introduction of this fish farming came, people are not aware of the fish farming. So they introduced the shape of the fish ponds to construct. That's why they construct all over. You see, you can never get a triangle fish pond. Maybe you want for luxury or the decor of maybe you as a specific person, you want to construct it. So, but in terms of calculating the meter squares, or calculating per, you know, even if the fish you have just stocked, it's now calculated whenever it just grows. It has its own measurements, and to that fish pond, how it's just going to rotate. So how can you calculate the playing zone of the fish and to triangle fish pond? So it brings that confusion in terms of calculation. So that's why they go for a rectangle fish pond. Those are good in terms of doing calculation, because even fish farming needs a lot of calculation.
Okay. Is this your profession or what?
It's my profession, but I never went to school in terms of that.
Okay.
So
where did you learn this?
I started the way my brother just asked me, you want to start up a fish pond and you don't have any idea. So I started with zero idea. So as I stocked and I just observe and maintain everything relevant to the growth of fish, I have to get the idea from that. So I observe, I see, I react upon it. So that's how you now learn from that. So I've been practicing this for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So it has been a while, so as I have full understanding about the fish farming.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody with a question?
If you have a parcel of land just beside Marwa's property, is it as a result of this business or any other kind of business?
No, when I started to invest in terms of fish farming, I bought the land not knowing that I could just construct a fish pond. So somebody told me there's a land that's somehow cheap around the river, which is now this river YouTube. That time Maro was not even around here. His father was just around here, was just planting here some sugarcane plantation. All of this compound was of sugar plantation. So at that time, the father of Marwa was the one who was just at this garden preparing some sugarcane plantation. But that time, I bought that land at my area. So that time, that area was somehow swampy. So they never told me that it was, so I sent my money so I can just buy a land that was just cheap. But when I came to see the land, it was a swampy area, totally swampy. So I just rolled onto my mind, what am I now going to practice onto this shamba here? So I thought about maybe planting some rice, and no, I had no idea about the rice. And if you want to plant rice, maybe you should have a large market. Is my market there for rice? How am I now going to process the rice and to the finished product? I don't have those machines. Am I going to do it manually? No. So I went further so as I can just see what am I just going to do for this piece of land. So in that period of time, I got government, the national government, talking about advertising. If you have a land that's favorable for the construction of a fish pond, they're just going to create for you for free. So in that time now, I went and registered to the national government, so they created me one fish pond. But they never told me on what to invest there or how many fish. So I went further to discuss on my own platform so as I can just know which kind of fish am I just going to rear there. So they just constructed a fish pond and they went. But before they could just went, I accommodated them because they never used any machine. They used the manpower in terms of the construction. So I asked questions now and then because I was the guy who accommodated them at my home. So they came from home and do work and go back home. So after they finished, so I had gained some experience from them. That's why you see at my project, I have 3 now fish ponds there. So the extra 2, I constructed them, me and my own manpower of people who just came for the work. Yeah.
I've heard you mentioning only of tilapia and catfish.
Yeah.
Can any other fish breed survive
Okay.
in such a fish pond?
Okay, the breeds, we have mudfish can just survive here.
Yes.
We have, mudfish and the catfish are same species but different brands. The catfish is somehow pale green in color, but the mudfish is blackish in color and it's just somehow small. It has a small head. But the catfish has a big head and it's pale green in color. So those are just same species but different brands. We can just install trout fish. You know trout fish?
Trout or trout?
Trout. But we have the predators, people who might come and fish without your acknowledgement. So those are now the challenges. Theft is just there. And sometimes you can just find the climate is not favorable for you to just feed them here. So it's just going to bring some chaos in terms of growing posture. And the way we are just talking about, you cannot fertilize this fish pond here. The reason behind is that, when you start fertilizing it now, it turns water into green. That turning water into green, this is just a section of a homestead. So it will not bring that shape or the color of water to investment or as a decor of this area. So in terms of this fish pond now, it lacks fertilization. That fertilization will just give out the growth of the algae into the water. So as when they just, the entire life of the fish, the tilapia fish, they eat and up to their life cycle, they eat algae into the pond. So if you don't have that one and algae, somehow, it brings that tension that you can just have a good quality product of fish from the fish pond. But these ones are not for commercial ones. We can just say it doesn't have any problem about that. But we are just going to use the concentrate feeds to feed them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, bro. Okay, guys, welcome to its_Gintu to get more uploads in terms of the fish farming. I've just talked about from the selection of an area you can just construct a pond. We can talk about the construction of a pond, the type of a pond you can just construct, the type of fish you can install, the type of feeds you can just use from the starter mashes to the pellets. In terms of the maintenance practices you can just do onto your pond, the pH values you can just use for rearing different types of the fish. We can just talk about the trout fish, you can talk about the catfish, talk about the mudfish, talk about the tilapia fish and the golden fish. But we have not talked about the golden fish because that's now a different agenda in terms of now rearing of fish, because those are just reared in terms of aquarium ponds or aquarium sections, because they are there for decor mostly, they are not there for consumption rate mostly. But we can now know the selection of a good breed in terms of stocking. We can talk about how the breeding system goes. We can talk about how you can just construct some dikes in terms of the fish pond where people can just walk. How many meters from the pond should a dike look like? and what do you plant onto the dike so as you can now control that erosion. We can talk about fertilization of the ponds. We can talk about the pH value of water needed for the growth of tilapia fish. So guys, you can just check on my YouTube channel to get more uploads that I've just uploaded onto the channel so as you can now learn more about the fish farming project.
Thank you.
Guys, how are you? I have a friend of mine here by the name
Strongman 254, and I am with Plumber for Samaki.
no. Plumber. Jesus is Lord. No, I'm a fish farmer. So, you know, guys, let me check the camera first. Let me put it in a stable manner. Okay, guys. Look at this place.
Yes. I am with the Plumber for Samaki.
No. I'm not a plumber. Maybe that's another profession we want to add me, but I can do that. There's no big issue about that. So, guys,
Plumber for Samaki.
Give a shout out. What's up?
Hello guys, what's up? How are you? Yeah. My name is Christian. I go by the name Travel with Erusha. And I travel from Rwanda, Kigali to Nairobi on my motorbike over there.
Woo! Yes.
So, yeah. So head on subscribe button there down.
It's underscore King too.
Underscore King too.
King. Woo.
Alright.
You're hyped.
Yes, I'm told, bro. Thanks, man.
Guys, we have people who have genes here. Okay, so we are just talking about my friend
Strongman
here,
254.
Strongman 254.
Yes.
It's just a shout out. You can just say something onto the channel. There's no big issue about that.
Okay, that way. Yes.
No problem. You see that? Thank you. We can just say something.
And this is Elia passing here.
Elia, can you say something?
Oh, and I'm going to eat now.
Oh, you are going to eat?
Yes.
So guys, bye. Guys, thank you guys. Just shout outs from my big bosses here. Makore? Thank you. I'm going to... Okay. Thank you. Guys, we are back where the fish ponds are now. Located here. Guys, I've done some cleanliness here. So you can see now how the place is looking somehow nice. Somehow nice. Look at this. Wow. The place is somehow nice, guys. The protocol goes on and on, guys. Wow, they made Linjin. Thank you. Hello guys, how are you? Welcome onto my channel. It's underscore Gintu here. I am now going to introduce you to my boss direct now. Hey guys, welcome and see my boss here.
How are you doing?
Welcome.
I like your energy.
Always.
Guys, what's up? It's Marwa here. This is I am underscore Gintu. He's actually a village boy just like me, not far away from here. And he's the fish guy, fish pond guy. People have come here. I've seen a lot of people film videos. Actually, like Mama Gift filmed a video there and it got lots of views.
It went viral.
Yeah,
and mine are not going viral.
No. Now, if you say like that, they will not go. I swear. You learn. Ona we alifanya nini? Learn what they did. Yes. Okay. Actually, that's one thing that small YouTubers struggle with. When you start something with somebody and their channel grows up, right, and your channel does not. So you start feeling, why not me? Why? Like him now is complaining. He films video in the same place, it doesn't go viral. Somebody else filmed, and it went so viral.
You know, I have ever spoke to my people who are just watching my channel day to day, whereby I post daily around at 8 a.m. daily.
That is all you have to care about.
You know, I have 2 weeks here. So, I was just talking about unto myself. I want to open an Airbnb at my place there. So as because some people might, like this time round here, or at the time we're just talking here, the DJ wants to play the music. So they want to find somewhere cool where the music doesn't reach.
Wait, you want to open an Airbnb right there?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a great idea because he has a fish pond.
Yes.
He can actually attract stuff.
Yes.
I mean, he can attract people.
It's a cool place. Meditation hours. You can just chip onto my project.
That's your land.
That's my land. Oh, so So I had some. That's where I'm
Don't
now.
sell your land.
I'm not selling. So I am Marwa here, so my boss here. I wanted just to communicate to you, maybe most of my people here are just talking about how these kind of fish pond we just created here, which is one of the modernest, which is just by the name the Flying Beam Fish Pond.
Flying Beam Fish Pond.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're just asking, will it be tiled?
Oh no, we actually, you told me if we tile, the fish pond will get cold for the fish. That's why we need to put tiles.
Of course, yes. But due to the time I was just coming, because this bash was just when
Bash
we just
is
wanted,
party.
when we just approaching the party, it was just around our corner when we were just constructing it. So we could just often when the party is over, so as we can now reframe it into another thing level. Will it now work or
I
it's
agree
not?
with you.
Of course, yes.
He'll be my guy who fixes my fish pond every single day. As long as he behaves to be a good guy, I have no problem. He can film, he can do whatever. As long as he just follows, I want to support him. And he now tells me he wants to open an Airbnb. Maybe even one day he will move from his home and come and live next to me here, because this place is really rising up.
Of course, yes. So, guys, you have just heard from my boss here directly on
guys,
what we were just talking about.
Subscribe to @Gintu if you're watching this from Marwa. Please don't forget to subscribe, because this is my homeboy. I want him also to grow. And he's actually put a lot of fish in our fish pond. He will be feeding them. When you guys come, you'll enjoy some fish, which is actually... And even when you come sometimes, he will give you a tour of his farm. Now your place is becoming really famous. People go there.
It's one of the famous.
Yeah,
it's one of the famous. And you know, we are just lying beside the river. The river. You know that name?
All right.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to do a live stream.
Of course, yes. So guys.